Welcome to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Today we're going to be talking about elder abuse, so stay tuned. Welcome to another episode of Consumer Protection and You with Ryan Lippe. Ryan Lippe is a consumer protection educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost's office. Ryan, it's always a pleasure talking with you.
Great. Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
We have a variety of different things that are happening in our society. And one of the things that you are helping for all of us to better understand is elder abuse.
That's right. And elder abuse is all too common in today's society. And more times than not, it's actually someone that the older adult knows or has some relationship with. It could be a relative, maybe a distant relative, a caregiver, a friend, or it could be a perfect stranger. But a lot of times with true elder abuse, whether it be physical or mental or other types of abuse, it is someone they already have contact with before the abuse begins.
You would think that individuals, as we get older and wiser, really become aware of being abused. Are you finding that we trust too much as we get older?
Well, I do think there's a generational gap between the older folks that do have a more trusting and polite attitude about them and that are more trusting and polite and grew up that way versus newer generations, whether it be Generation X or the other newer generations like the one I belong to, that may not have that trust factor. They may be more cynical. So when those two generations sort of collide, the older adult may be vulnerable to being swindled or scammed because they don't want to offend anyone. They were brought up to believe once you gave someone a handshake or looked them in the eye that your word was your bond. And a lot of today's scammers, whether they be in their 20s or 40s, definitely are out for money and personal information. And they're going to lie through their teeth to get it. The Ohio Attorney General's office, one thing we do is we help run the Ohio Attorney General's Elder Abuse Commission. And for 2021, we are commemorating Elder Abuse Awareness Day on Monday, June 28th. And so we are having a virtual webinar. And the title of the webinar is fairly long, but it's simply to promote and prevent and protect older adults from maltreatment, including abuse and neglect. The formal title is Effective Strategies for Serving Older Ohioans at Risk of Adult Maltreatment Through the Pandemic and Beyond. While it is more geared, I guess, towards lawyers and social workers, the public is invited. So we really want a good representation of folks there. And it's virtual on Monday, June 28th, 2021, from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. And we just want everyone to sign in by 12:30 p.m. to make sure they have access to WebEx, which is the free platform that we do the webinar on. It's sort of like Zoom that we're on now, but it's WebEx and it's owned by Cisco Corporation. That's who the Ohio Attorney General's office uses for our webinars. So if you simply go to ohioattorneygeneral.gov, that's ohioattorneygeneral.gov, and do a search for Elder Abuse Awareness Day in the search box, just search for Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and you should get this graphic to pop up where you can actually click and register, learn more about the day, get the full webinar agenda, as well as learn more about how you might be able to get credit for attending if you do need credits for the legal profession, law enforcement, or for social work. So here's an example of the webinar agenda. So we've got lots of experts from across Ohio, including a local police department, the Ohio Department of Insurance, the Ohio Geriatric Society, the Ohio Job and Family Directors Association, and the Ohio Victim Witness Association is all going to be featured on one or more of the panels on our special event on June 28th. And everything's free. And you can get all the details again at ohioattorneygeneral.gov and just search under Elder Abuse Awareness Day for all the details, for more information, and to learn how to sign up. Pre-register and also get into the event a little early if possible. It's a great program. We have diverse experts all talking about elder abuse, elder fraud, and adult maltreatment. So again, Elder Abuse Awareness Day is commemorated in June every year. This year it's in early June, but the Ohio Attorney General's office wanted to make the presentation on June 28th, which is a Monday, from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. to try to maximize attendance and the available panelists. So it's sort of a floating date, I guess you could say, but it's always in June of every year is Ohio Elder Abuse Awareness Day. So another thing you can do to commemorate the day is, I believe you want to wear purple. I think purple is the color for making people more aware of elder abuse.
That I did not know.
So that's going to be the presentation. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about a publication we have online, also for older adults, called Cyber Smarts for Older Adults. That takes you through some tips and some really good practical applications that can help you when you're online if you are an older adult. And it is geared more towards the older crowd that may be fairly new to being online or have a little less expertise in the ins and outs of going to a website, checking your email, doing things online. So at the Ohio Attorney General's office, most people know about our main website, ohioattorneygeneral.gov. We have a great publication on there that I have on the screen called Cyber Smarts for Older Adults. And what it does is, because older adults are vulnerable to scams, we want to make sure that they're able to protect themselves and other loved ones from fraud or financial exploitation. So we just have a bounty of tips that are available in all different categories in this publication. And it really starts with the internet and what you do on the internet, and most importantly, what you don't do on the internet, especially if you're on free public Wi-Fi. We don't want people to get on free public Wi-Fi to do any kind of financial transactions, to check their email by logging in, anything that involves passwords or your personal identifying information. You should wait until you're behind a secure network that you know has a firewall, that you know is encrypted, and then only using a safe website that's also secure. So sort of the tip number one is, don't go and do any kind of logging in or any financial transactions when on free public Wi-Fi.
Give an example of what a public Wi-Fi is.
Oh, like at the library, at the coffee shop. Now, if you're at home, you're paying for the Wi-Fi and it's your own secure network, and you probably have what's called a firewall, and you probably have encryption turned on. And if you don't know whether you do or not, you might want to contact either tech support from your internet service provider or someone that knows a little more about the computer than you do, just to see if it has encryption and has a firewall. But usually when you're at home, it's going to be more private, it's going to be more security than when you're on free public Wi-Fi at a coffee shop or a library or a school or a train station. Those are the settings where you may want to check the news or do things anonymously, but you don't want to do anything that you wouldn't want everybody and their mother to see. So if you don't want somebody across the room or in a van in the parking lot to be able to exploit what you have on the screen, save all of that for when you're at home behind your own network and when you have a firewall, when you have encryption. And only go and do that with websites that are HTTPS. That's in the address bar of the browser you use. If you see that an address is HTTPS, that usually means the website is secure. And it's safer than, if you're on your home network, it's safer than to put in passwords and personal information, financial information, as long as you've verified that it's not a scam. So sort of step number one is to do it at home or behind a safe setting. And number two is to use a safe website, which is HTTPS. Again, the S stands for secure.
It should also be noted that most people don't carry around their laptops or computers when they use public Wi-Fi. Usually they're on a small notepad or a iPhone.
Yeah. And if you have one of those portable devices, it's even more important that you be very careful. And if you have the option of using your cellular signal through your phone plan, this is the time to do it. If you want to ever put in any personal information or anything like that, and you don't know if it's a secure network or not, get off the network. Think about going through your cell phone provider's signal to do that kind of work. It is going to be more secure than a lot of the free public Wi-Fi, especially if you don't need a password to get into the free public Wi-Fi. That's just another clue that it may not have the kind of security you want in order to be able to put your personal information online and make sure it's secure from any hackers or any infiltrators that may want that information.
I can roam if I wanted to. In other words, if I'm off my network and I'm out in the another area, it could roam if I so chose, which basically means using another person's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, or another company's network to roam. So if you're roaming off of your network, you want to be concerned about expenses, first of all, because under some plans, you may be paying extra money to roam off of your network by using another company's network. So if you see a little note that you are roaming, make sure you know exactly what plan you have and whether it allows for free roaming or not. And today's plans can get kind of complicated. So you may want to have a conversation with your cell phone provider and figure out what extra charges could be accrued if you roam, if you use you can sometimes use your phone as a hotspot. Sometimes that is included to some capacity under your monthly plan. But again, that depends on your plan. So be very careful when you're roaming on another network. Be careful if you're in some of the small towns, especially if you're not used to being there. You may accrue charges when you don't expect to.
What do you mean by hotspots?
Well, you can actually use the data connection of your phone as a hotspot for another device. So you could be sitting out on a campfire with somebody, and if they have a laptop, you could use your phone, your smartphone, as a hotspot to even connect that laptop to the network you're on. Again, that involves a little bit of expertise, but if you ask your internet service provider, or more importantly, your cell phone provider, about whether they allow to use your device as a hotspot, you may be able to look up instructions and learn how to do that. So if you have a connection and someone else doesn't, you could use your device to help them connect through a hotspot.
A lot of great information. Let's talk a little bit about the scammers. What are some of the prevalent scams of the elderly?
Oh, geez. We see a lot of the grandparent scam still, where someone calls up and impersonates the grandparent or the grandchildren. and they'll say grandma, grandpa. They may even know the name of the grandchild, because a lot of times people disclose things in obituaries and social media and public records that they don't necessarily know that strangers are going to find out about. So they may even know the child's name that they're trying to impersonate, but they'll say, I'm in trouble. I just need a few hundred or a few $1,000s. Please wire me the money and give me that to get me out of trouble. And by the way, grandma, grandpa, please don't tell mom and dad. I'm really embarrassed about this. I just need that money right away, or else I'm going to end up in more trouble than I'm already in. And a lot of grandparents, unfortunately, fall for that scam because they want to do the right thing. They think it might be their grandchild, especially if they happen to know their name and maybe their age, where they go to school, some other information about that child they are trying to impersonate. And so grandparents want to do the right thing. They want to get the kid out of trouble. Sometimes the kid even says they're in the hospital or in jail and they need to get out, and they can't do that without money. And so they'll impersonate the grandchild and get the grandparents to send them money. Of course, it's really going to a fraudster who has a fraudulent account. So when they pick up the wire transfer or the gift card numbers or however they want you to pay, it's going to a scammer, not to really the grandchild. The grandchild's innocent in all this. They're the ones being impersonated. They're probably at work or at school or wherever they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I would imagine another scam might be in some kind of government program, such as IRS.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Ryan. I had signed up for information on the IRS. You can sign up, and then that way they know who you are. And it's interesting. I received a letter about 10 days later saying, "Are you the one that really signed up for the IRS?" And so I think it's really good, the safeguards that IRS is putting forth.
Right. And also making sure people know not to ignore the letters, not to take any hint that you may be involved in identity theft as a victim very, very seriously. And if you need help, we have a lot of good publications, and we actually can help rectify the effects of some sorts of identity theft through our help center. So our help center is at 800-282-0515. And the best website for the consumer protection section is always ohioprotects.org. ohioprotects.org. But in terms of identity theft, I got a letter in the mail from Ohio Job and Family Services claiming that I had tried to establish a password related to unemployment compensation. I never asked for unemployment compensation. I never asked for a password. But I got a hard copy of that letter in the mail, and that was my first and actually only clue that someone had tried to use my Social Security number and other personal information to get benefits that they claimed were due to me. They claimed they were me. They claimed they were unemployed. They wanted money. They were trying to defraud Ohio Jobs and Family Services and the federal government, probably, in trying to get money that wasn't due to them because they weren't me and I wasn't unemployed and I never asked for compensation. So when I took that letter, what I did was I immediately called Ohio Jobs and Family Services, and a number that I independently verified was a good phone number for their help center. Let them know, and they turned it over to their fraud team to make sure that those benefits stopped if they were flowing to a scam artist. And if you do have any kind of unemployment compensation fraud issue, do call Ohio Job and Family Services. They're the ones that can dictate what to do in an event like that. So if you do get any kind of information on unemployment, you never asked for it, contact those folks at ODJFS, Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, to work out that type of identity theft situation immediately. This is our main publications web page. where we have all the different publications of the Ohio Attorney General's office. In fact, we have 33 sections at the office, and we have ohioattorneygeneral.gov as our main website for the entire office. If you just need something from the consumer protection section, still go to ohioprotects.org. But we've got publications representing a lot of the 33 sections on this page, and you can actually click onto any of them. Like here's a fact sheet on identity theft. If you click on that fact sheet, you get a nice view of identity theft basics. You can do full screen, you can print it out, you can give it to folks to look at. Even, feel free to take information from our fact sheets. If you do a newsletter for work or for your club, you can go ahead and credit the Ohio Attorney General's office and use any of the information you find on some of these helpful publications.
So here on the seniors, you have a number of different brochures, and you have a number of different ones that individuals can take a look at.
Yeah, and these are just the ones that are geared towards older adults. We've got plenty more that have a more general audience for consumers of all ages. But this, under the senior label on ohioattorneygeneral.gov, we've got the Cyber Smarts flyer that we had discussed about. We have more information on the Elder Abuse Commission that's going to be holding that June 28th virtual webinar that everyone is invited to learn more about elder abuse and to commemorate Elder Abuse Awareness Day. We've got information on our Elder Justice Unit, lots of different information on financial exploitation, financial fraud, and phone scams. Phone scams, a lot of the scammers we see out there like to make thousands of phone calls using robo-dialers and using the internet and advanced technology. They can make all kinds of phone calls around the world to try to get at our older adults. And one primary way they do that is through the phone. So we've just got a nice little palm card here that talks about phone scams and gives you some tip-offs on whether the person calling you, either talking to you in person or leaving you a message, actually could be a phone scammer. And the most important thing is to use caller ID to your advantage. If you don't know the phone number on caller ID, don't answer the phone. Let it go to voicemail. Let it go to an answering machine if you have one. Because those are the ways scammers get through to you, is by you answering phone calls that are mysterious, where you don't know who it is, and your caller ID is telling you it's somebody you've never talked to before. Be skeptical, let it go to your voicemail, and if it's important, they'll leave a message.
I would imagine that if a elderly person was scammed, they would immediately come to you and say, "Hey, I've been robbed."
You'd be surprised. A lot of people don't know exactly what the Ohio Attorney General's office does, and they may not know where to report a scam, when in fact there are multiple places to report a scam. Our office at ohioprotects.org is the perfect place to report your scam, but a few others could involve the Federal Trade Commission and the Internet Crime Complaint Center. The Internet Crime Complaint Center is at ic3.gov. It's IC and the number 3.gov, and that involves the FBI white collar crime section and various other authorities that get to the root of internet-based crimes. So if you are a victim and it's over the internet, that's yet another source you can go to. But we're always happy to take your scams and try to resolve complaints against businesses at ohioprotects.org here in the Buckeye State.
If I were scammed, Ryan, I'll be quite frank with you. I would be a little bit embarrassed.
Yeah, we get a lot of people that are embarrassed or ashamed. I'm telling you, there are people with wonderful high IQs. There are people with PhDs. There are people with advanced professional degrees that become victims to a scam. So you are not alone. You can call up and you can even anonymously report a scam. But of course, then we wouldn't be able to really work with you in terms of trying to resolve any issues. But again, don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. Speak up and speak out if you are a victim, because we want to be able to help at least inform other people about what you've experienced so the same scam doesn't happen to them.
In June, that's Elder Abuse Awareness.
Yes, and we are commemorating it here in Ohio. We're commemorating it through an event on Monday, June 28th. And so for more information, again, go to ohioattorneygeneral.gov and search for Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and you'll get the screen to pop up where you can register for our online virtual event. Final thoughts, final words. Please let us know how we can help you. There's a lot of people out there, and I think our services are underutilized in terms of resolving complaints you may have about a business, whether it's a local business or one over the internet or someone in another state. We can try to resolve your complaint against a business through ohioprotects.org and 1-800-282-0515. We can also help rectify the effects of identity theft, get you publications, schedule you to see a presentation that we may have. If you want our one of our educators to give a virtual presentation to groups, give us a call at 800-282-0515. We may be able to line up an opportunity for your group to be able to hear from the speaker firsthand. We're talking with Ryan Lippe. He's a consumer educator with the State of Ohio Attorney General's Office, Dave Yost. Ryan, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the time, Patrick.